Howdy, gang. We are live again. This is yours truly, Mr. Zelmo the Unruly. And, I have a lot of catching up to do. I haven't streamed like this over a week now. I remember last time I did a live stream of this type. I'm still, I'm still gonna call them a podcast because why the hell not? But, last time we were here, I was going over I believe is that legal loophole that I had found kind of on accident on the National Archives website when the raid on Trump's Mar-a-Lago home by the FBI when that the whole controversy had first started. And I had found a little loophole that I thought was worth reading because not many news sources were really mentioning that. He just kind of glossed over the fact that, well, he's the president. He could declassify anything that he wants at any time, which is kind of true and kind of not. There was some bureaucracy involved in that, of course. Ours being the most bureaucratic nation in the world. But it involved an executive order that was signed by President Obama back in late 2009, 2009, and it was Executive Order 13526, if I recall correctly. And that involved the president's ability to classify or declassify certain types of information or certain types of documents. Essentially, if he was the one who classified it initially, he could also be the one to declassify it later on. And basically, at his or well, we have not had a she president yet, so at his disposal, or if we had a she president at her disposal, or if one of these days we have one of those non-binary presidents, it would be at their disposal. Okay, so just so we're clear on the pronoun part. Anyhow, that's what the last I guess you can call a podcast episode was about. Since then, I was wanting to go a little bit more deeper into the raid part, but the news kept escalating at such you know like a really it's so fascinating that the news was escalating so quickly. It started off as a raid, and then they moved on to, well, to find out that the FBI had raided Melania Trump's her panty drawer. Essentially, they were raiding her panties. It became a panty raid at that point. To Trump saying that, oh no, they took my passports. They took all three of them. One was expired. One might have been a presidential passport that they give only to presidents, so they can just fly where the hell they want to, at any time of the day or night or week, without much approval from whatever customs departments might be involved in that sort of thing. Who knows? But anyway, I think it's called the executive privilege passport or something. I don't know. I'll have to research that a little more. From there, it went to what's his name? That guy, the AG, Attorney General, the Merrick Garland, admitted on live TV the following couple days later that he's the one who signed off on the search warrant, the warrant to raid for the FBI to raid Mar-a-Lago. And then from there, it went to, oh, well, now the FBI was looking for nuclear documents. Okay, so apparently Trump had kept nuclear secrets, nuclear documents at Mar-a-Lago. The FBI apparently knew about this and allowed Trump to keep those documents there for 18 months since he left the Oval Office. Since Trump left the Oval Office, they knew he had new documents there, kept them at his house in Mar-a-Lago for whatever reason for 18 months. Okay, that's a year and a half. Okay, that's a long time for the FBI to know about nuclear secrets being kept at a private home of a former president, or apparently for no reason, for shits and giggles. So then you see how it escalated into that, and then the news kind of swept the fact under the rug that, because they were really focusing on the fact that, oh, they grabbed Trump's passports. That means that's a sure sign that the Department of Justice is going to press charges on Trump. This is the first sign. They focus on that part so much that they kind of swept under the rug the fact that the Department of Justice returned the passports to Trump just a few days later. We didn't even hear about that. We kind of heard about it in the news late, like the following week. It was mentioned as an afterthought. I actually had to go. I actually had to go looking for that to find out what the. I was initially interested in what the whole passport thing was about, and I found on some obscure like news website that, oh, his passports were actually returned to him. So it went from Trump being a flight risk to, oh, here's your passports back. Don't tell anybody. And then from there, we discover that there's an affidavit out there. Apparently, Trump actually released his copy of the warrant from the FBI, the search warrant. It was completely unredacted. The left news media got very angry about that because they're saying, oh, well, he released all this private information that was not supposed to be made public regarding certain FBI agents that were there. He endangered them. Trump endangered them by revealing their identities and everything like that. To now, there's an affidavit that will explain the entire story, why the FBI was sent there in the first place. What was the reason? But now the Department of Justice and Merrick Garland, they're saying, well, we don't want to release that because there's too much classified info there. The American public shouldn't be allowed to see that. Even though by revealing that information, it would open up everything, let us all know why the FBI was sent there in the first place. Were they actually there looking for nuclear documents? Were there actually nuclear documents there? We can only assume that the FBI and the Department of Justice and Merrick Garland are telling the truth about that. That, oh, well, we know there's nuclear documents there because we say that they are. Trust us. And, well, how much do you actually trust the FBI, honestly? And Merrick Garland, the guy who tried so hard to get onto the Supreme Court, thank goodness he failed at that. So we definitely dodged a bullet there. Imagine Merrick Garland, a guy like Merrick Garland, on the Supreme Court. Um, it's a good thing he got out of there. Obviously, all this news about the raid on Trump's Mar-a-Lago home last week and going into this week was meant to distract us from the fact that the January 6th committee is essentially it's null and void now. Yeah, they're continuing to hold their hearings or whatever, but I mean, when's the last time you actually heard about the J6 committee, or the committee, as I like to call them? Because what they're doing is just this short. This falls this short of communism. Something a communist a government would do. Basically, it's nothing but what's the word? What's the term? A kangaroo court. Essentially, they're calling all these witnesses, but there's no cross-examining of these so-called witnesses. There's going up there and saying, "Oh yeah, Trump told me to do this, and I saw this because trust me, bro." That's a Twitter joke, by the way. If you go on Twitter, you'll probably see people saying, "Oh, what's the source of your information?" Trust me, bro. That's your source. But anyway, the reason why I believe, and it's a very strong indication that the January 6th committee is essentially just a pointless like waste of taxpayer time and money because who do you think's paying for the whole thing? It ain't the government. Well, the government is, but what pays for government? What pays for our government? Taxpayers. The reason why they're trying to distract us by all this big news about Trump being under investigation by the FBI. His house is raided. He took classified, documents. He took nuclear secrets. Is to distract us from the January 6th committee essentially becoming a pointless escapade in bureaucracy. Because, well, for one, we have not heard anything about the January 6th committee in almost 2 weeks now. I mean, they are not even being mentioned or very rarely mentioned in the news right now. Everyone's so focused on Trump and the FBI thing that the January 6th committee is all but forgotten about. And it probably would have remained so. This is kind of going into the next, into this week, earlier this week. Obviously, the primary elections were this week, and two key states that made all the news this week was mainly Wyoming, because that's where Liz Cheney is from. That's her home state that she supposedly represents. She represents right now. She's only representing herself and the Democratic Party at this point. I use the word, Democratic very that's almost like sarcasm. There's nothing. Again, I say there's nothing that's democratic about the Democratic Party. Liz Cheney, she also serves on the J6 committee as a supposedly as a representative of the Republican Party, the GOP, one of I believe two Republicans on that committee. Liz Cheney and who cares what the other guy's name was, but anyway. Well, as we all know, Liz Cheney, she lost her um primary in Wyoming a couple days ago. As Trump would say, very huge, by a huge margin, very very bigly. Okay. Um, you were saying, oh, she might if she lost by 10, maybe 20 points. It might not appear to be so bad for her. Some people are saying, oh, by if she lost by 30 points, or even at the most 35 points, that would be like extreme. That would definitely be something to talk about. But no, she lost by 37 points to some lady named Hageman or something like that. Honestly, I didn't know who this Hageman lady was until last week when her early polls were much higher than Liz Cheney. Hageman, she won essentially because Liz Cheney, supposedly, who's supposed to be representing the people of Wyoming, chose instead to go all out on a big campaign going after Trump. And the Wyoming people of Wyoming, obviously, they saw this and say, "Hey, this lady's not here, not up there representing us, the Wyoming people. We're gonna vote her ass out," which is essentially what they did, and not by a small margin, but I mean by a humongous margin. Okay, so this Cheney's out. The She conceded that very night on Tuesday night, I believe. Conceded her defeat to Hageman, and then the following day, Liz Cheney holds this press conference saying how she's going to continue to fight to keep Trump out of running for president in 2024. She's going to keep him out of the White House. So she goes down. Liz Cheney goes down swinging. She goes down. She's all fighting and everything like that. They're not going to defeat me. She even has the. I'll be nice here, okay? Liz Cheney had the nerve to compare herself to Abraham Lincoln just because he lost 2 elections before he won the presidency. And she's starting to hint around that she's going to try to run for president. Of course, we're all hoping that she does, because she's going to run against Trump, and Trump is going to just, you know, lay her out like a carpet, essentially, in terms of, I highly doubt she would even get as much of the votes that Kamala Harris did when she ran for president a few years ago. Y'all remember that? I don't even think Kamala made 3% of any vote during that year, and before she dropped out because after that, what's her face? Tulsi Gabbard just made a fool out of Kamala Harris, like during one of those big debates that they were having. Anyway, Liz Cheney, she's essentially she's a lame duck now. I mean, yeah, she's gonna keep her office as um congresswoman representing Wyoming until her job ends in November. But essentially, yeah, she's still going to be on the January 6th committee, but she's essentially just a really she's just a lame duck at this point. There's really no point in her doing any actual work now. She's out of here in just a few months. So, and of course, I'm sure she's got a few book deals lined up. She's probably going to get to like a guest spot correspondent on CNN or something. Pick a Democratic propaganda tool. I'm sure she'll be on there claiming to be a Republican, claiming to be a part of the GOP when she clearly is not, because most liberals, most Democrats were pulling for her. There were Democrats in Wyoming that were switching parties from from the Democrat Party to the Republican Party just so they can vote for Liz Cheney. That's how cool that Liz Cheney is with the left. And of course, Trump being Trump, Trump's loving it. He's you know, all of this entire past 10 days or so has essentially fired up Trump's entire base, all his base core of voters, people who are for sure going to vote for him. Now they're definitely going to vote for him if Trump decides to eventually run for president in 2024. By some of the polls I've seen, he's even got the independent people who were kind of on the fence about going Republican or Democrat. After what the FBI, what they did to him, raiding his home, the first ever former president who ever had their home raided by the FBI over what amounts to essentially is allegations and accusations. There's no diehard evidence that we can see that Trump actually did anything wrong. You're going to hear a lot of people saying that, oh well, Trump was not allowed to take those documents out of the White House. Whereas last week I explained during Trump's presidency, which ended at noon on January 20th, 2021, he had up until then to declassify whatever documents he wanted to be declassified, or if he had if Trump had arranged to have those documents automatically become declassified that morning. Previously, Trump also had the executive authority to do that, as per Executive Order 13526, which was signed by President Obama again in 2009. Trump had the authority to do that. Also, you may not remember, but a few months ago, maybe 3, 4 months ago, the National Archives people went to Mar-a-Lago and retrieved about 15 or so boxes of said documents that they said belong in the National Archives. Well, Trump had actually returned those to the NARA, which is the National Archive, RA, whatever that RA means. But anyway, essentially, yeah, he had returned the remaining documents that he had taken out of the White House before he left the presidency in 2021, and this made the news. So the National Archives people were cool with it. They grabbed the documents, they took them back to National Archives where they said they were where they belong. So everyone was happy. Nothing more was really said about it up until um, recently, where apparently, and this is kind of the rumor, the allegation going on that says that someone on the inside at Mar-a-Lago works there, basically informant for the FBI or whatever. They claim that they saw other classified documents there, and they told the FBI, "Hey, you got to go in there and you got to get these." And that apparently was enough for the FBI and for Merrick Garland to sign off on the warrant to send him over there to send the goon squad, the goon men over there. That's the FBI G-men, supposedly. Their 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 nickname for the past almost 100 years or 90 years or so. So the G-men go up there, they raid Mar-a-Lago to get these documents, and then all of a sudden, there's nuclear documents. There's that apparently the FBI said that they were there this entire time for 18 months. You're as confused as I am about all this. That's generally how these types of what they call a smoke screen, where they blind us with all this news, revelations, whatever, to hide what's really going on. I believe involves January 6th committee not being able to find anything substantial or actionable that they could pin on Trump to press any type of charges against him. Some members of the committee came around and said back in, was it June, that they were not going to refer Trump to the Department of Justice for any type of prosecution. They were not going to refer him to for that for anything. They had nothing. They had nothing to pin on. And this being an election year, a midterm election year, Democrats want to hold on to as much of their control, much of their power as they possibly can, because they don't want to give any of that up. Because Trump's got a very, very strong chance of winning. He did before, like before the raid. After the raid, after the FBI raid on Mar-a-Lago, well, now he's got a pretty damn sure chance of winning in 2024. Now, basically up to him to decide when he's going to run, not if. He's already hinted, dropped all types of hints that that's what he's going to do. I think he's just waiting for the right time. Now might not be the right time to announce, hey, I'm going to run for president, because with all the FBI, federal Bureau of Intimidation, people scrounging around, sniffing around, looking for any kind of dirt to get on him. I think he's just going to hold off for a bit. As to quote Trump from just the other day, where he said he wants the temperature to come down a bit. Probably doesn't want to announce presidential run right now, but maybe in like a week or two. Um, so I'm sure before the end of the month he's probably going to announce it. Yeah, I'm going to run for president. Here we go. Probably going to do on some kind of a national talk show type of thing. That's normally where they do it. They'll pick, like, I don't know, Jimmy Fallon, or who else is relevant now in um, talk show world now. Late night TV. Um, all I can think is Jimmy Fallon. I don't watch much TV stuff, but yeah. Once that happens, boy, I believe the shit's really gonna hit the fan on the Democrat Party side, because basically now they have no one that I could think of that's going to even realistically try to run against Trump, except maybe for Joe Biden himself. Which, I mean, Joe Biden, I don't even know where the hell he's at anymore. I mean, they showed a footage of him just a couple days ago when he was signing off on that stupid what do you call it, Inflation Reduction Act. The guy could barely even sign the document, and he's so out of it. He's like, oh, here we go. There's my signature. Goes to hand off the pen to the guy standing to his right, and he's just holding it there like this for like at least 5 awkward seconds before the guy who's standing there clapping wasn't even looking at Biden. He was looking out of the crowd, wherever he happens to know. Oh, a pen! I better take it. And I mean, Joe Biden looked so out of it. I doubt he even knew literally where he was at that point, at that moment. If that's a guy who's going to be running against Trump, I'd love to see that debate. Uh, um, I would love to see like a repeat of their debate from a couple years ago, just for shits and giggles. Anyway, that was not the main my focus of this podcast. Believe it or not, my main story was going to be about the election in Alaska. About 5 minutes ago, I mentioned that Wyoming and Alaska were the two biggest news for this week. I picked like Wyoming first because I picked Wyoming first because That was a big news about Liz Cheney. Liz Cheney gets this finger. Okay, okay, just Liz Cheney, Liz Cheney. Oh my God, pardon me. I'm so rude. Anyway, the other big news of the week was Alaska. We had our elections up here. We had one special election was for the replacement of the late, not so great Congressman Mr. Don Young. He passed away a few months ago, I think back in May. Oddly enough, he was on a return trip from somewhere, probably from DC, on his way back up here to Alaska. I believe he passed away in LAX airport, Los Angeles airport. He just broke right there in the terminal. He was probably on one of those notorious, like 9 hour layovers from wherever he was coming from. I laid over in LAX to Alaska. I guess it's like an unwritten rule, or if you're going through Los Angeles Airport, International Airport, your layover is going to be at least 9 hours. My wife, she was coming back from a vacation from overseas with our two kids, and yeah, she had a 9 hour layover in Los Angeles, probably in the same terminal. I was joking with her the other day. She probably sat in the same spot where that poor guy Don Young passed away. Congressman Don Young, poor guy, probably died of boredom, from that such a long layover. The report said he died of natural cause. He was up there. He was 83 years old at least, and he was just actively working. He's still up there. He was still up there in Congress, like voting on stuff. Sharp as a tack still, until he just was keeled over. So the special election we had up here, um, uh, like for this year, we just had it a couple days ago. Um, Okay, here's the deal. Alaska had this weird. They were trying something new this year. It's like a ranked election where they picked like four candidates for this ranked election, and you get to vote for like four of these candidates in order, like your first choice, second choice, third choice, last choice. And I believe it's the top three they get sent up to the primary, or the ones who get the most of the top two votes of the rank of the four ranks. The top two, I believe, gets sent up to the general election in November. The one guy, okay, I'll explain this a little better. The I s- the special election for to replace Congressman like Don Young was also it was like a mixed election there. It was a special the I the special election to replace Congressman Don Young was also a ranked election to see which of those candidates would advance to the November uh the uh, the election in November, the main election. God, it's so tough to get out. I'm trying to understand it all and explain it at the same time. That's why it was kind of tough for me there. But anyway, so what happened was Al Gross, Mary Peltola, I can't ever pronounce her last name right, Sarah Palin, and was it Nick Nick Begich. Those were the four candidates running to replace Congressman Young, and the ones that were going to advance to the November election. Well, Al Gross, he was a Democrat. Mary Peltola was the other Democrat, and then Sarah Palin and Nick Begich were the two Republicans that were running. So it was two Democrats, two Republicans. Well, Al Gross, he dropped out early because he didn't want to run against Sarah Palin because a smart guy actually, he knew that Sarah Palin was going to just sweep the whole thing. So he dropped out. Mary Peltola ended up getting the majority of Al Gross's votes. So on election night, after all the votes were tallied, Mary Peltola actually came out ahead. Like she got like 39% of the votes. Sarah Palin got 31%, and then Nick, Mr. Nick like Nick Begich got about, I think, 21%, and then the remaining went to some write-in candidates for other candidates. So what's going to happen is Nick Begich, he clearly, the margin between him and Sarah Palin is clearly a very wide margin. What Nick Begich is probably going to do, he's going to drop out. When he drops out, the majority of his votes will probably go to Sarah Palin. If she gets those votes, she should surpass Mary Patola by a pretty substantial margin, which means that Sarah Palin is probably going to be the late Congressman Don Young's replacement up there in Congress in the House of Representatives. So Sarah Palin, that's Sarah Palin, Miss Governor Sarah Palin of Alaska, or the former governor of Alaska, Sarah Palin, same one that was running as John McCain's vice president in 2008 on that ticket. Yeah, she's going to return to public office. She's going to return to the national stage where I believe she belongs. She was too big for Alaska. And ironically, Miss Sarah Palin ran on a political slogan of she never quit on us Alaskans, which left everybody up here just like she actually said that. She said this like recently, like about a month or two ago, I think, or maybe a couple weeks ago. And a lot of people just like floored, like, oh my gosh, she actually said that, because as we all know, she's the only governor of any state of America in history who ever quit her job as our governor. I mean, quit. And people don't really care about the reasons why she quit. I understand why she quit. She was involved in a lot of frivolous lawsuits. After it became known there was a loophole in Alaska law at the time, back in 2008, going into 2009, where any public official in Alaska, in our state government, if they get sued by a private private citizen, they cannot, at the time they could not use any government funds to finance all their legal fees for their lawsuit that's based against them. So what happened was she had all these different people. They were suing Sarah Palin for millions of dollars. And of course, being the governor of Alaska, who only makes $175,000 a year, well, how the hell was she going to pay for all that, right? And this went on for months, and then finally, I guess she had enough. She quit. And on the surface, that might seem like a good reason to quit, even though nobody quits as a governor. Okay, no one has ever done that before. She's the first governor to ever quit her position. Just quit. I quit. And I remember at the time people were saying, "You can't do that. You can't quit. You can't quit the governorship." And then they were trying to find all these little, going through all these law books and whatever. And this is the funny part. It turned out there was no law anywhere that said that she couldn't do it. She was the first one to ever do it. The only politician who ever quit her job as a governor. And it had never been done before. So because it had never been done before, there was no legal precedent there, which means that there was never a law that was ever written saying you can't do that. So begrudgingly, she was allowed to quit. She was allowed to step down. My memory of that time is kind of hazy. I believe they must have had some kind of a special election to elect somebody to fill out the remainder of her term, which I believe was till 2010 or something like that. Anyway, that was the main story. But the other story that wasn't talked about so much was that that was the same year that Miss Sarah Palin had a $14 million book deal. And again, the morality of that is certainly debatable. But I mean, okay, just between you and me, okay, if you suddenly say you had a job, paid decently, $175,000 a year. Someone offers you a $14 million, $1 million book deal. what would you do? I know what I would do. I'm a sellout cheap asshole. Yeah, I'd jump on that $14 million like it was, manna from heaven. I mean, there's no question there. And she left the state. She ended up leaving the state, moving down to Arizona. I guess they own some property down there, some land, and she lived down there for a while. And she's going back and forth between Arizona and Alaska. I believe it's Arizona. I want to say Arizona because I kept hearing Arizona around that time. So that had to have been where she moved to, or where they had land at. But going back to the main subject there, the fact that she said that she said she never quit on the people of Alaska was dumb and jaw dropping, statement for her to make. But apparently enough people up here, didn't in the end didn't really seem to care too much about that. It's been long enough. This is like 2008, 2000. She quit in 2009, and that was 13 years ago. That's in politics. That's like ancient history. You might as well be still belly aching over I don't know a Watergate or something. It's like anyhow that's the that's the reason why I was holding off on this little fireside chat that I'm having with you now. Because this past 10 days, there's been so much news going on that it was so hard to keep up. You every time I turn on the TV, there's something new going on. Trump said something else. We had the elections here. I won't go into who I voted for the elections up here, but the fact that we made national news again, to a lesser extent than Wyoming. I mean, Wyoming clearly they stole the show a couple days ago by voting Liz Cheney out, getting her the hell out of there, getting in someone new. And here's the thing, Liz Cheney. Everybody knows about Liz Cheney. Nobody really knows about Hageman. I still don't know much about Hageman. Here's the funny thing. This is true. Last week I thought Hageman was a dude. I was saying, oh yeah, some guy named Hageman running against Liz Cheney. Well, it turns out that Hageman is a woman. Looks like a school teacher, talks like a school teacher. And maybe that's what the Wyoming folk were looking for: somebody who talked less like a Washington, like a DC hawk, like a Cheney. Okay, her dad, Liz Cheney's dad, was Dick Cheney. The guy who shot that one dude in the face with a shotgun and basically got away with it. Yeah, that guy, the vice president of George Walker Bush, or George. Is that what George W. Bush's middle name is? Walker. Um, yeah, that's who her dad was. And I think that played a bit of a part in her name, the family name, because the Cheney family name is essentially out of politics at this point. Liz Cheney was the last of the Cheney dynasty in Washington. Her dad's out; he's basically retired. There's no other Cheney to move in and substitute take over for Liz now that Liz is out of here. So one down, one dynasty down, about 20 more to go. There's always going to be a Bush. There's always going to be a Clinton. I mean, Chelsea Clinton's still walking around doing her thing. The Bushes are still around. They're still around. Jeb Bush is still alive. Jenna Bush, the daughter of George W. Bush. I mean, she's doing like talk shows now, but who's to say she's not gonna like decide to get all political when she gets older? I mean, she's still a young one. She's still in, I think, her early 30s or something. But anyway, that's essentially the current affairs. And there's my lovely wife here to end my live stream for me. What's going on?
Bye. One day using deliver pizza.
Hey, my friends and enemies, my wife, she just bought this. I don't know if you can see it. It's what they used to like deliver pizzas. I'm telling you about national news, and this suddenly became more important. So I'm teasing. No, I essentially had nothing more to say. But look, this is baby doll. Say hi to the world, baby doll. Say hi. Hi. Where are you going? What? Say hi. Say hi, please, honey. I love you. I'm talking to the good people of.
Good night.
Okay, good night. Hey, this was a live stream. It should be on my YouTube right now, my YouTube channel, our YouTube channel right now. Be sure to check us out. And how long? Oh wow, this is a long one. I ran off a little over 40 minutes. So yeah, time to say goodnight. So yeah, I guess I'll see you all on the flip side. Thanks for watching, whoever's watching. You folks, feel free to leave whatever comments you like, positive or negative. I'm cool with either, as long as you say hi or something. But anyhow, I will see you folks on the flip side. Until then, I am out of here. Peace.
What did you do? What game? Oh.
Ooh. I gotta do the game. I'll be in bed by 2. What? I'm not even tired. Oh, look, they heard that too.
Huh?
They just heard us argue. Yeah, we argue lots. That's what marriage is, folks. It's all about arguing.